Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod, along with Tony Allegretti, Mauricio Ruiz. I'm Cole Pepper. Coming up today on the pod, the aftermath of the Copa America and how it could impact the World Cup coming to the United States in 2 years. We're less than a month ago until the USL Super League kicks off, what we're seeing from the new Women's League, and a new face with Sporting JAX. We introduce you to David Phillips, our new Director of Marketing and Brand, and we're going to put him on the spot his first week on the job. Well, I want to remind you that we are fed by the Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated with locations in San Marco and Jax Beach. Make sure you swing by the Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great times. I was there last night, as a matter of fact. Had the burn ends. You got to make sure you get there early, get the burn ends. Went with the pork sandwich. My daughter went with the turkey sandwich. My stepson turned to me and said, "Do they have good ribs?" And I said, "You better order the ribs." And he did.
Try it.
He did. And he was a happy boy. All right. Also want to remind you that Premier League Soccer is headed to Everbank Stadium coming up very soon. Next Saturday, as we speak to you right now, July 27th, Wolverhampton against West Ham in the Stateside Cup. Tickets on sale now. Go to sportingjax.com and go into the events tab to buy tickets. We'll also be holding a youth soccer clinic in the Flex Field beforehand. You can get more information on our website as well. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. Let's bring in David Phillips to start with right out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, David.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Welcome to the Sporting Pod. Welcome to Sporting JAX, but not welcome to Jacksonville. You've been here.
No. I love Jacksonville. I've been here for a while, on and off. I moved here in high school, went to Bartram Trail High.
Go Bears.
Go Bears, yeah. And I love this place. This is home. I've wandered off a few times, and I always end up right back here in Jacksonville.
Well, we should let everybody know that your previous position was with ASM, which is the company that manages most of the big sports properties and arenas and so forth here in town. So it's a little bit of an adjustment.
It is.
But in some ways, we're going to be picking both the marketing side and the venue side of your experience.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to join the team and bring in my experience handling the venue and operations and marketing from a different aspect. Obviously, we'll have our own stadium and we'll have all the same kind of issues and headaches that we had over there, but it'll be a lot of fun.
I disagree. We'll have all new headaches.
All new headaches.
Brand new headaches, for sure. So we do want to give everybody a little bit of your background, but also want to kind of dig into your expertise and your view of things. And so, Tony and Mauricio, feel free to jump in here. But why did you decide to join Sporting JAX?
Why Sporting
Why'd
JAX,
you do it?
right? Why?
Why would you do such a thing?
I mean, for me, it was really a no-brainer. I mean, there's professional women's soccer in Jacksonville, along with men's soccer. It's a huge hole in the market right now for that sport in Jacksonville. Obviously, we know what the youth are doing right now with soccer in Jacksonville, Northeast Florida, and all of Florida. But having another professional team in Jacksonville it's going to be great for the fans, and you know, with everything going on with Copa America and all the soccer right now going on in the States, everybody's more excited than ever. And I saw a huge opportunity to be a part of what you guys are doing. I'm really excited about it.
So it's a really important question for me. As we put our internal team together, what position do you play in soccer? As a coach, I'm thinking, like you're a right back or you're a forward. What's your soccer background?
I was going to say I'd play right back, but I'm crazy enough to play goalie. I'll do it.
We always need one of those.
Yeah.
I'm crazy.
All the people that grew up playing goalie, they never want to go back to goal. So we need some of those crazies.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing is when you play goalie, if you're up for it, you'll never get out. Like they won't let you out. So that's good.
Yeah, I'll play the first half. You're there all season long.
Awesome. So one of the things that I love about your work, big fan of your work. The ASM does such a good job of facilities. So I used to be when I worked at the Cultural Council, we were a tenant at the Times Union Center or whatever. It's the blank
Performing Arts Center or whatever they call it.
Right. But also like just the quality of the sort of the admin there and Stacy and all that. But you're always, and I think this is true for maybe all of sort of the concerts in North Florida. it seems like the arena is always at the top, like number one in the nation or number one, always really doing well. How does that work? Like, I mean, is it the city that's just so good at responding? Is it your expertise?
It's really a lot of both, right? The city entrusting us and entrusting all the folks at the different venues to do what they do, and building those relationships with the promoters. Jacksonville obviously is a great setting for all types of events, but really being able to partner with all the different promoters, Live Nation and AEG, and even the tenants like the Icemen and the Jaguars and all the great folks that put on sporting events in this town. Leveling, advertising, and making sure that the market knows what we have to offer. There's a huge appetite for entertainment and sports in this community. We just got to make sure everybody knows about it. Right?
I love that. And with Sporting JAX, with the championship side and the Super League side, we'll have 40 nights of soccer, no problem. But what I really love in this gap between sort of our largest venue before Everbank is the arena, but really, for outdoor concerts, we go from like Fletcher High School to Everbank, so we do hit a gap with our stadium, and I really look forward to filling that up on non-soccer events, and I think you're going to be a huge asset for us as we do that.
Right. What do we do the other 365, right? We've got 40 to 50 games, and then what are we going to do the rest of the time? We're going to fill it up with great entertainment, great festivals, events, and community engagement opportunities for people to come out and have a good time. Absolutely.
I do want to ask you about what your, not just perception, but outside perspective was on Sporting JAX before you got into the process of interviewing for the job and so forth. Keep in mind that your paycheck depends on this, but
15-day periods.
Yeah, still in our way. What did it look like from the outside as we were kind of getting things going from the ground floor?
Sure. I mean, that's really why it was a no-brainer for me to join the team, right? I think what you guys have done so far has been pretty short of amazing. The buzz around it, even the ownership team that's involved, like everybody is extremely excited about it. The way it's been presented and the thought that went into putting the logo and the brands and actually making sure that there's a story and it's about the community. It's a no-brainer. It's great.
I guess he can get paid then.
Go ahead. That was clear. That was pretty safe. That was pretty
payroll
safe.
Know what's going on.
Safe.
Well, we talked about putting David on the spot a little bit, right? So obviously everyone has an opinion, and you have an educated opinion on how to get our name out and how to promote women's soccer, how to promote professional soccer in general. Because you talked about, you worked on the venue side, but we're talking about like a local brand, right? So you're talking about like a community brand. So just some ideas off the top of your head. What does Sporting JAX look like in the community for you, and kind of ideas that you have to really increase and lift the name of the club?
Great. I mean, that's something that we've already started talking about, right? Getting into some of the school programs, after school youth clinics, getting into the community and offering opportunity to these underserved communities that really don't have an attachment to soccer quite yet. They will, because we're going to make sure we get out there and do the grassroots work. That's what Jacksonville's about. It's about community and getting everybody engaged and learning about the sport of soccer. So, yeah, we're going to go out. We're going to be at every festival. We're going to be at every school. We're going to be everywhere we can. You're going to start seeing the Sporting JAX brand.
That's been sort of a tenet of what our vision has been anyway.
Okay, right.
And so now you get to implement that.
Help make it happen.
All right. I also going to put you on the spot. Obviously, Copa America just finishing, and one of the major storylines to come out of that was the mess that was what happened in Miami in the finals. You have been involved in operating venues and marketing events for venues. When you saw what happened in Miami, what went through your head?
I felt for those guys. I felt for the operational staff. What it takes to put on an event of that magnitude and that side is sheer brilliance, and you got to be focused and worried about all these different scenarios. And they trained, and I'm sure they had tabletop exercises and were prepared as best they could, but things like that happen, and bravo to them for being able to still pull off an amazing event after all of that chaos and only delaying it for a few hours, it could have been a lot worse.
How difficult is it to run an event like that is somebody else's event who doesn't really want to work in the way that you're used to working?
That's the tricky part with putting on events and venues, right? The promoter has their their idea of how it should go, but they don't really know the operational side on how your venue works.
Yeah, local knowledge and boots on the ground matter, don't they?
They absolutely do.
So I have just an anecdote on this. I was trying to figure out if Hard Rock was the same venue as Sun Life. I went to the Super Bowl when it was Saints Colts, and you couldn't get you could, like, the Uber fence, you couldn't get dropped off. There was like zero tailgating. If you wanted to drink or use the restroom, you had to use your ticket and get in. I mean, so I'm thinking to myself, and I just remember that being the most locked down I've ever seen. And then I'm like, I had to Google and make sure
same stadium,
it's the same exact stadium. So it's like completely possible. I mean, obviously, in a sort of the culture of the game, you want to have that pre-game in the parking lot and all that. But at Super Bowl, I think they just want all the money to come in, and then you can have fun. But really interesting to me, just thinking back, that like literally the same spot, obviously huge prices for the tickets, oversold out, and it really does come down to how they set it up and how they manage it.
Well, as Mauricio and I talked about on a radio show, in the United States, we put on major events all the time at stadiums and venues, and they come off with very little hitch, if any. Super Bowls, Final Fours, national championship games, political conventions, go on and on. Major Taylor Swift concerts. This was a different thing, partially because of the numbers who were there without tickets, which was, there's probably as many without tickets as there with tickets. And the fact that there wasn't some control system that was set up is inexcusable. I mean, it's a terrible failure. I'm going to point to CONMEBOL as the guilty party here, because they were really wanting to control.
I think that's
everything.
where all the lawyers are pointing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And it probably means that Copa America is not coming back to the United States not in
the same
while.
agreement. Yeah, if they come back, it's going to have to be a joint effort with CONCACAF and U.S. Soccer potentially, because that was a debacle.
It comes down again to the producers, right? So what was the Euro final at Wembley when they did the same thing? They crashed the gates and all that. I mean, how many massive sellout soccer matches are in Wembley every year? Mm-hmm. I mean, a ton.
Right.
And that really doesn't happen there. So again, it really comes down to who's in charge, who's producing, and making sure everybody that has a ticket can get in safe, and everybody that doesn't.
But besides that event, and that's why I do think they will come back obviously with a different setup. But it was a massive success. Copa America here. There are a lot of things from the quality of the fields and things that that Bielsa and Jesse Marsh made really public. But from a popularity standpoint and viewership, it was a massive success to have it in this country when you have the World Cup, the World Club Championships coming next year, and then the World Cup in the year following. A lot of lessons learned, but I doubt that we're not going to see more and more events stateside.
Well, and to your point about the TV success of those matches, the tournament averaged 1.42 million across Fox Sports, which is a 350% increase from the 2021 tournament.
Jeez.
So that is a major increase. At the same time,
the James effect.
Yeah, it probably.
He's back.
Listen,
he's back.
He's back to being on the bench at Sao Paulo. He only plays for Colombia. It's like he puts on like a hero jersey when he puts the yellow jersey on. But
we would take him back so fast.
But Bayern, Real Madrid. I mean, he was a bum everywhere else, but he puts on Colombia jersey. He's like a superhero.
He was not a bum for Everton.
That's it.
Well, yeah, Everton.
Yeah, he won hardware.
Oh, we got 14 minutes into the podcast before Everton was brought up. So that's that.
We can fix that in post.
Yeah, we'll clean it up in post. Similarly, by the way, The Euro finals did a huge number. I'm just looking to. I've had these numbers here earlier, and I've got.
While you're looking, another success for the Copa was that we got rid of Berhalter. So
Absolutely.
There's something there.
Here we go. The final for the Euro, Spain's 2-1 win over England, 6.43 million viewers on Fox, the largest audience for a Euro Cup game in any one English language television network ever. The audience peaked at 8.47 million. Now, put away NFL
larger than World Cup. You said ever?
For Euro Cup.
For
the Euros.
Okay.
Yeah. In addition, it averaged 3 million on Univision, which is a 13% increase from the 2021 final, the most watched Euro Cup final in any U.S. Spanish language network. So, I mean, both of these tournaments, I think it helped that they were going on at the same time in some regard because it really drew a lot of attention. It's a rising tide situation, but they did extremely well. There was, holding the match in Kansas City, that Arrowhead's a very big stadium. They had a lot of the upper deck that wasn't filled. Weird camera angles. There was a lot of different storylines that went on with that. But CONMEBOL had to make a ton of money off of this, to your point, and but it's going to have to be drastically changed if it comes here again. I hope it does come here again, but I don't want to see it come here.
It'll just be a while.
But I mean, certainly I think the biggest thing that you take away from the consistency of all the games, just the poor quality of the field. This whole thing of laying down sod on a football field that's only 72 yards wide. I mean, that was embarrassing from a high quality football standpoint. So the World Cup, they're fixing that. A lot of these football stadiums are getting redone by then, so it won't be sod laid over. At least not 2 weeks before, 3 days before. I mean, there were complaints that the sod was laid over 3 to 4 days before the matches. You can see the creases kind of coming up. You can see it from a quality of the bounce on the field. That has to be fixed, at least for even the club championships next year. I mean, you're going to be bringing in Man City, Chelsea, all those major clubs. Stadiums will be packed for that as well. The quality of those venues have to be better.
All right, we will talk about this and more every week on the Sporting JAX Report. Our TV show debuts every Wednesday at noon on ABC 25 with encore presentations over the weekend, and on our radio show every Monday night at 6 on 1010 AM and on demand at 1010XL.com. It's the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. Mauricio, Becky Burley, and I kick it around on those two shows each and every week. All right, let's get into some a little bit of news around the game as well as around the USL Championship. We're recording this on Thursday, and today the news came out that OKC Energy is poised to return to USL Championship. They had not played since 2021. There's a new ownership from Echo, an OKC private equity group. The return date has not been set, but, Tony, here is a franchise that it kind of went dormant for a few years, now coming back into the league.
Yeah, and welcome. Have you ever been to Oklahoma City?
I have a brother and a sister who live in OKC.
Oh, nice. So no.
Never.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever.
Okay. No,
Stay away.
I think it's kind of a cool city. It's weird. Their riverfront, they made it up. It's like you could, if you fell out of your canoe, you could stand up. I love that. But what I love about that city is the ambition. This massive skyscraper that they're trying to do is so amazing. Yeah. It's like taller than the Freedom Tower. Yeah. Like unbelievable. I like it. I look forward to going there. They have a good sort of soccer culture, a good background. They've had a couple pro teams before, so this is I welcome our Oklahoma brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they return and when they do. Obviously, there's a built-in rivalry with Tulsa there, so always great to have some rivalries in there. The other bit of news around the soccer world that I wanted to bring out is CBS getting the rights to the EFL, the English Football League, which is basically everything below the Premier League. So the Championship, League One, League Two. I have to think, Mauricio, this is driven in part by the Championship, which is a very high-quality level of soccer, but also I'm certain we're going to see Wrexham on some CBS broadcasts.
Oh, that has to be the reason, right? I mean,
huge part of this.
They were part of the whole Paramount Plus, and I mean, they're trying to take with the Golazo Network. They're trying to take over soccer in America. The cool thing about that is it's actually creating all this demand, right? So now you see Fox and make sure they have Copa America and the Euros, and then you still have NBC with the EPL, ESPN trying to get their claim, and what's happening here domestically with Apple TV, and what's happening with around the USL. I mean, there's just this war now for broadcast, which is really where the money is. So when you create demand, now you create investment. Now the investment into the clubs, into the leagues, now they start kind of rising. So this is great to see this league, second division leagues overseas, being fought over broadcasting rights.
And Tony, I was just having a conversation with somebody in the soccer world earlier this week, talking about where the championship ranks in terms of the best leagues in Europe. And all right, the Premier League and France, Italy, Spain, and Germany, Big Five. You don't have to go too much further past that to where the championship sits.
No, and the championship for me is more fun to watch than the French. I mean, it's PSG and Lille, Lyon, Marseille, but it's not the top to bottom. Any given match day, you don't know who's going to win. It's always entertaining. There's a lot of Premier League talent, but they're trying to get back in. I mean, we had Hull fans at the watch party. Shout out to those guys. So smart move by CBS. It's very good, high quality soccer. Hopefully they got it for sort of a second division deal. But that's going to help all those teams.
Yeah.
So
and again, as you mentioned, Mauricio, more content.
Well, more content. I think in the names in the English Premier League that are getting relegated, or the teams that are trying to come up, I mean, they're household names now. If you do look at the championship and look at the teams in there, like, well, that team needs to be. I mean, you're talking about like Leeds and Burnley, and Leicester was there last year. Fulham is kind of up and down sometimes. So these are, high price tickets, and the environments. I mean, these are big venues. They're not just kind of your small town, like Luton towns of the world. I mean, those are starting to almost becoming a bit of a rarity, that it's a 10,000 venue. So when they come up, it's a big story. The majority of the championship clubs have 30,000 plus venues, some of them even to the 50s and the 60s. So these are big business now. So yeah, it's super smart on CBS to do that, because the atmosphere we talk about as we kind of planning for our stadium here, camera angles, right? Making sure that what it looks like on TV, and now, and obviously with CBS putting the USL and eventually the Super League on Peacock, these are all considerations to make sure that the product on the tube looks good as much as the fan experience on the game.
And to a marketing standpoint, there is no better way to market your product than to showcase your product.
Than to show it.
To show what you're doing. Right?
Absolutely.
That's a huge part of the entire approach. All right. We do want to also remind you that memberships to Sporting JAX are available right now. It's absolutely free. Go to sportingjax.com to sign up. You get discounts on Sporting JAX official club merchandise, invitations to attend exclusive insider events, automatic chances to win special prizes and experiences, plus the Sporting JAX email newsletter. You will also have a chance to put your deposit down on your season tickets. You can be among the first to receive seats and a special limited edition Sporting JAX founding member pin. Just go to sportingjax.com to sign up. Let's transition to the USL Super League here while we have a chance. We are now inside of a month ago until the kickoff of the Super League. I want to just point out 3 signings that happened here recently, one from Dallas, one from Fort Lauderdale, one from Tampa. And kind of compare and contrast some of these signings. The first one I want to bring up is Kaylin Marquesi from Tampa Bay. She's a goalkeeper from St. Pete, so she's coming back home. She played for Tampa Bay United in her youth career. She played for the Gators. So, again, coming back home. But you look at where she played, where she's been professionally. Originally for what was then called Sky Blue FC, now Gotham FC. Then went to play in Iceland, played in the Danish league, played for Arsenal and Bristol City. So while she wasn't getting as many appearances there for those leagues in England, this is a great opportunity for a high-level player to come back home and play here in Florida for a team right in her hometown.
Well, there's always a question. Obviously, you have Super League coming on board, and you have the NWSL, and the question's always been: is there enough talent on the women's side to fulfill 2 leagues, right? And I always thought this was such a silly question, because you're talking about only 14 professional teams previously, now 8 teams and counting kind of going forward. When you have 70 plus men's teams, and I don't know about you, but I go to youth fields and college fields. There aren't more men than women playing. If anything, at the college level, there are 350 Division I women's programs to 204 men's programs. So I do think that the amount of talent that's out there that just hasn't really been cultured or developed because there's been a ceiling to their growth, which is lack of more professional teams. You're going to see a lot more of young ladies like this that try to pursue their professional career by different methods of going to small divisions in Europe, Scandinavia, and start rising through the rankings here. May not have made it, as we kind of call it at Arsenal, but are good enough to even be kind of considered by them. They're going to start really pouring into the Super League. And we're going to be like, where have you been? Well, I've been available. There just hasn't been options.
Yeah.
So now there are options.
Another one is another Florida-born player, Shania Gordon, born in Ocklawaha, but she grew up in Dallas, going to play for Fort Lauderdale. So sort of a hometown thing or a home state deal.
Yeah.
Where's Ocklawaha?
Doesn't it feed into the St. John's?
Marion County, so kind of near Ocala, that area, Central Florida. So again, played in Moscow for CSKA Moscow.
Jeez.
Yeah, then Racing Louisville in WSL, Le Havre in France. This is, and then most recently, I was not a good French student, but Montpellier, not Montpelier.
Well, after you spit on those with Le Havre, you guys like
Le Havre and Le Havre nots.
Again, international overseas experience, coming back to play at home, and then one more that is right after she signed. Becky Burley sent me a note. Oh, watch out for this one, and that's Chioma Ubogagu, who was born in London, played at Stanford, which is obviously got a great program there. Arsenal, Houston Dash, Orlando Pride, Real Madrid, and Tottenham for her last couple of stops. Played for the United States U23s and has 3 caps for England.
Where is she?
Dallas.
Okay,
going to Dallas, where she has some history there. So again, you never know how they fit in and making a transition to a new league and a new team, but these are pretty good resumes for women coming to join the USL Super League. And as the signings have been coming fast and furious as the season approaches, it may take a little time for everybody to get up to speed. But Mauricio, these are pretty good CVs here.
They're really good CVs, and I think these players are finding an opportunity to come back home and play in a place near their families and friends, or around colleges, or they have history with. I think the biggest thing we'll see in the Super League this year is probably a lack of depth as they're building their roster. The top end of the roster will be as good as any. They're probably going to figure out what does the middle to the bottom look like. But one thing that and I know Becky is really bullish on this, the Super League are guaranteed contracts. So first of all, let me back up. The minimum contract for the Super League is higher than the minimum contract for the NWSL, and is the same minimum contract of the USL Championship on the men's side. So it's not like the women are getting, shortchanged.
It's pay equity.
It's pay equity on both.
Still a meritocracy,
100%,
because there's no ceiling.
Right. The ceiling is based on what you do, but at least everyone comes in at a respectful level. However, the first time in women's soccer in this country where their contract, and while there might be a 1-year or 2-year contract, there's 2 short-term contracts, and that's a long way for soccer in general in this country. But the fact that these young ladies are going to get a guaranteed contract, that is unheard of. The NWSL is reacting to that by trying to offer longer-term contracts that are not guaranteed, but they're trying to hold you on to the longer-term contract. But it's huge that you get a minimum pay that's equitable to the men right away, which they might even raise the floor at one point. I'm sure they will, but they're guaranteed contracts.
And if you're playing for your national team too, you have that calendar is synced up with the international calendar where NWSL is not. So it's a little bit of an advantage there. But I just want to say how awesome the talent is right now, just in women's soccer in general. And we go out to some of these W League games. I'm amazed at how just the quality of these folks. It's amazing.
It's an amazing segue as well to one last thing I wanted to bring up, which is that the USLW League, which is the pre-professional league for the women in the USL, it's a summer league for college players, just put out their award year-end awards, and the Defender of the Year is none other than Georgia Brown of Florida Elite, who we featured on the Sporting JAX report. Started all 11 matches this year that she played, a 12-0 record for the team overall in the regular season. She scored as a center back. She scored more goals than the team conceded this year. She is dangerous.
She did her part.
She is dangerous. She scored 9 goals, most of them from headers. She's tall and goes up in the air and is fearless. One of the matches I was at, she just, it looked like when the uncle plays with the nephews at the Thanksgiving football game, just right over the top. And she was phenomenal.
Not in my house.
Yeah. So 9 goals scored, 6 conceded for the team, and she is finishing up her college eligibility at USF in Tampa. And so she also had an assist mixed in during the season. So congratulations to Georgia Brown on a fantastic season. And she well-deserving for sure. All right, that'll do it. David, thanks so much. David Phillips, the new director of broadcasting brand for Sporting JAX, is here. We hope we've introduced him just a little bit to you, and that he has said just enough to get paid for at least the next 2 pay periods. We'll see how it
period has gone well.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, remember to share this podcast with your soccer fan friends. As we go forward with the Sporting Pod, we will have more announcements to be made for Sporting JAX, and then we will take you in behind the scenes of those announcements right here on the Sporting Pod. So for Tony Allegretti, Mauricio Ruiz, and David Phillips, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for listening to the Sporting Pod.